All right, welcome back to day 3 of overcoming pain and getting back to what you love. Again, I'm Dr. Jake Meyer with Revive and Thrive Fitness. So today, what we're going to do is talk about how movement is medicine. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to cover: how movement is actually helping to be healing, not harmful. I'm sure we've heard of the phrase RICE or price after an injury. We're going to talk about how that may not be the best thing. And then the new acronyms: peace and love, also police, meet. We'll talk about what those mean here in a second. All right, so first off, movement as harm. So, I'm sure you guys all heard it. You sprained an ankle, your doctor, your mom, your dad said, all right, go get some ice, elevate it, compress it, don't move, go get crutches. You try to avoid it. You go to the doctor, sprain your ankle, they put you in a boot, or they put you in an ACE wrap, or have you tape your ankle for sports, things like that. We're trying to restrict that movement. The idea is you keep the area from moving to allow more healing. Makes sense. You don't want to overstrain it. You just got a bad ankle sprain, or you just strained your back. So you want to have that brace on there to help give you that extra support. So, the idea in itself is not a terrible idea. It seems like it would make sense. And this was made popular back in 1978 by Dr. Gabe Mirkin. But when you kind of break down what it really is, it's giving you the message: don't move, avoid things, and you're bracing things, not allowing your body to function and heal like it needs to. So if you kind of look down at the bottom here, it goes through this little phase. Oops, go back. Goes through this phase of movement equals pain. Pain equals harm. Harm is damage. Damage makes me fearful, which makes me more anxious, which makes me do less activity, which then just continues to deteriorate your health. So, you look at that in any aspect: chronic pain, acute pain, and it sends you down a certain direction. It's going to yield a certain outcome. However, so it's interesting that that little line looks like something familiar. What we talked about yesterday, the pain cycle, right? Acute injury, if you restrict the movement, you get less blood flow, more pressure on the nerves, more muscle weakness, muscle shortening, poor sleep, poor posture, increase in anxiety, depression, fear, getting into chronic pain. Okay. So it's interesting that the doctor that came out with this in 1978, in 2015, so just almost 10 years ago now, Dr. Mirkin came back and recanted that Rice price method that he made so popular in the 70s. And it's been replaced with a new acronym. So again, using the example of an ankle sprain, now people use the peace and love acronym. Okay. So what peace stands for is protect, elevate, avoid anti-inflammatories. Interesting. Compress and educate. Okay. That's what peace is. And then the love part is load, optimize, vascularization, and exercise. And so there's still some components in there. The first part, peace, is similar to the Rice and the Price method, right? We're still protecting it. We're still elevating it. One big distinction, though: we're not taking anti-inflammatories. And the inflammatory process in your body is your body's natural way of trying to heal itself. When you take anti-inflammatories, that can actually slow down the healing process. Also notice on here, it doesn't say anything about cold. When you apply cold, that decreases blood flow, which helps pain, but it could also be slowing the healing process. Compression can be okay to help manage swelling. Then that big part, the E, educate. Understand what's going on. The more you understand what's going on, you can decrease your fear, decrease your anxiety that you're going to be hurting yourself or damaging yourself more. The more likely you're going to be able to move a little quicker otherwise. So peace, again, similar, some unique distinctions there between the Price method. And then the love part is going to get more into the subacute after you're not as flared up. It's had a chance to heal a little bit. Now you want to load it. You want to optimize movement. Doing that is going to increase vascularization and then getting back into exercise. So if you kind of take that whole thing and you kind of look back at the pain cycle that I put up here again, it's kind of undoing a lot of that. In fact, here, like, look, I guess down here, I put, this is saying do move it. It's good to move it. It's allowing your body to heal. You're not slowing down the healing process by taking anti-inflammatories and doing too much ice. Initially, the first 24, 40 hours to help with pain, ice is going to be fine. You're not going to do yourself damage with that. Use it as you need to. But long-term use, maybe not that great. Long-term use of anti-inflammatories, probably not that great. Maybe initially, to just get through those initial symptoms. I don't think it's going to put you on a bad road per se, but I think we've become reliant on those two things. So now at the bottom here, this goes forward when I click. Comparing the flow to movement as harm, movement's healing, education is going to help reduce fear. Fear is going to allow, reducing your fear is going to allow you to do graded movement, which is going to increase your blood flow, which will reduce your stiffness, which will help you maintain your strength, which will then increase your activity, which then will restore your health. It's kind of the exact opposite cycle as the pain cycle. So you have the pain cycle right here, which is the movement is harm. You're basically undoing, just doing the opposite of all those, just by education, understanding what's going on, and movement. Movement alone does a lot, more than you realize. It doesn't have to be complex movements. There you go. So just reiterating it again, how all these kind of counter all the points in that pain cycle, so that way you can break the cycle. All right. But how much do I move? Okay. Obviously, if you just sprain your back, obviously, if you just sprained your ankle, it's kind of hurt, it's swollen. You can't go run a marathon on it. You can't go back to work and lifting, 100 pounds. It hurts. Your muscles aren't working right. Yes, I'm not saying go back and do all that stuff right away, but we don't want to lay in bed all day. We don't want to you broke a bone, yeah, put a cast on it. But we don't want to just lay around for a week letting it heal when really we should be moving it. One example, acutely in therapy clinic after people have like a total knee or even ACL. Back in the, 70s, 80s, when they did an ACL, they used to put you in a cast for like multiple weeks, 6, 12 weeks to allow it to heal. And then your knee was stiff and you could not bend your knee. Terrible outcomes. Now with ACLs, total knees, you're up moving within like an hour of waking up. You're moving right away. You're walking on it right away. Found movement is actually more beneficial and you get better outcomes by getting your muscles working again, getting those joints moving again, getting blood flow. Okay. But how much should I move? How much is too much? I like to call it the terrible twos, right? We all have either been around a toddler or have had a toddler of our own, and we all understand what the terrible twos are. So I applied this to exercise. Too much, too soon, too fast. Okay. So basically, you just want to do graded exercise, graded exposure. So go back to the ankle sprain. Yeah, you're not going to go out and run a marathon the next day, but yeah, maybe you grab a crutch or two for the first few days, unload it, do what the ankle can do, but you want to start putting a little bit of weight on it, start trying to get through that ankle motion as best you can. Just do what it can. You want to grade it. You just don't want to go non-weight bearing for an extended period of time. So you don't want to do too much weight right away. So, get back to just standing on it, and then get back to walking and then get back to doing stairs. And then, just kind of keep taking the level up, back to jogging, back to running, back to jumping. And then too fast. Just, instead of giving yourself a nice, easy time to ramp it up, you do too many repetitions or too much intensity and you get there too quickly. And that stays flared up, stays painful, stays swollen. So all that's recipe to not allow you to properly heal. I liken it to, in this bullet point, jumping off the deep end of a pool versus just walking through the shallow end, right? You got the zero entry pools. Imagine everything you do is a zero entry pool. Start at the low end and you're just working away the deep end. Before you know it, you're swimming laps and you even know how you got there. Versus jumping in the deep end right after, and then you're drowning, right? All right. So we talked about how much do I move? How far do I move? I like to tell my clients, we coax move it. When something hurts, we just gently move into it. We don't force it. There's always going to be a barrier there where it's a little bit of stiffness, a little bit of tightness, maybe a little bit of pain. You want to come to the edge and back off. Okay. So, one analogy I like to use, imagine you're driving down a highway with a concrete barrier here and a semi truck here. You want to stay in your lane. As you're driving, you'll kind of get close to that concrete barrier, but you don't want to hit it. You might get close to that semi truck, but you don't want to hit it. You want to kind of just stay in your lane and just kind of keep on going down the road. As soon as you go too far and you bump into that truck, you're going to spin out. You're going to cause it a big accident. And then that, sets you back, sets everyone else back. So, similar with the exercise, you move it until you're like, ooh, I feel it. Pause there. Let your body get used to it. See that you're not injuring yourself, you're not causing harm, and then move out of it and move back into it. That's like the really acute stage, after a knee surgery or knee pain or ankle. And then, yeah, when you're getting there, kind of coax the barrier. So you're coming to that barrier, just hanging out there and back off. If it's your back, you're just doing like a little rotation, come to that barrier and then back off. Hang out there for 1 to 2 breaths and then back off. If you force it, if you push into that barrier, it's going to push back. It's kind of like Newton's laws, equal and opposite action for every reaction. The harder you push, it's going to push back at you. And it's usually just going to cause more pain and just be more of a negative experience versus a positive experience of things getting better and better. Okay. So just gently coaxing. All right. Should I continue? How much do I do? How much do I push? So think about it as like a traffic light, red, green, and yellow. So obviously green light means go. Yellow is like, take caution, look around, see what you think. And red's like, whoa, stop. So let's start with red. So I like to, these number scales aren't great. No one really enjoys them, but it helps you at least get an idea where you're at. So, 0 is no pain, 10 is the worst. That's severe. So say 0 is nothing. So 1 to 3 is minimal. 4, 5, 6, moderate. 7, 8, 9, severe. Take you to the hospital, right? Get off it. It hurts too bad. If you're moving and you're in that red zone where it's like a 6 to 7 plus, you're compensating how you're moving, you're limiting what you're able to do. It's too much. You got to back off. Your body's not ready for it. You want to stay real easy, real light. Try to bring that pain level down first. Okay? Because pain and swelling inhibit muscles. If you're inhibiting muscles, muscles move your joints. So if the muscles aren't working, your joints aren't going to be moving well. Muscles aren't working, you can't build strength. You got to bring that pain, got to get that swelling and everything under control before you can move forward. So yellow zone, once we get that pain taken down, so it's going to be, 3 to 4 on the low end, 5, 6 on the high end. It's, moderate pain. It's not fun to be there, but it's manageable. You can kind of keep moving forward. It's one of those things. See how you feel in the moment, see how you feel after, particularly the next day. If the next day you kind of feel at your baseline or better, what you did was good. Keep moving forward. The next day, if it feels worse because of what you did the day before, back off. You did too much. Don't increase until you're at least at baseline that next day. And then green zone, when you're doing activity and after activity, if it's staying just at the very minimal, good. Keep progressing, nice and gradual. Okay. All right. So a couple action steps about talking, if we're talking about how movement is medicine. One point I didn't make, just like medicine, right? You have a prescription of how much to take. Same with activity, same with exercise. Hence, going back to the terrible twos. Too much medicine, taking it too fast, too soon, you have side effects. You have side effects with exercise too, if you do too much, too soon, too fast. So that's kind of where that comes from. So just a couple things to reflect on and to try. I'll have a routine we're going to do here again. It's going to be a little different than the last 2 days. Try the routine that I'm going to show you, and we'll do a couple of new movement screens. And then in the community, I want you to write down, one word that describes how your body feels, maybe while you're moving, and then after moving. And then even like reflect back over the last 3 days. How's it feel after the last 3 days of moving? Is there a change? Is it the same? A little bit, a little different? Maybe you just perceive your pain or your perceived limitation a little bit better. Maybe we're not as anxious about it. Yeah, anything like that. I'd love to know where you're at and what you're thinking, and what you're feeling. If you're making any progress just with these simple things. All right. So let's move on to the movement screen. All right. So here we're going to look at some back stuff, getting the back moving with an open book, some hip, get an ankle moving with a dorsiflexion glide, and then just getting some ankle control, doing some ankle pumps, and then we'll reassess. So let me move to a new spot and we'll continue. All right, so now we're gonna get into the movement screen part. So we're gonna check out the thoracic spine, your hip, your ankle, and I guess 2 ankle things. All right, so here we go. First one is called an open book. So what we're looking for here is some rotation through your thoracic spine, your lumbar spine, and your hip. So first, to get plenty of space, we're gonna lay on the floor. Pick either side. We're gonna do both sides at home. We're gonna do, take your hands out like this. And pretend you're a book, right? Bottom cover, top cover, and essentially we're just opening up our arms as we get a rotation through your whole spine. So initially, I like to change it more to doing a bow and arrow, okay? So you're gonna reach forward, so you're rotating this way through your spine, grab that string of that bow, and you're gonna pull back till you get to your ribs. You're gonna pull those ribs back and twist. Hang out here for like maybe 2 breaths. As you breathe out, feel yourself being able to twist a little bit further on that breath out. You're gonna feel your body relax. You might feel that tension. Remember how I talked about going to that barrier? As you rotate, you're gonna feel a barrier, stiff, tight, or pain. Come to the barrier, stop, take those deep breaths, and just ease into the barrier. Coax it, don't force it, okay? And when you're doing this at home, go ahead and do 5, maybe 10. I wouldn't do much more than that. See how your body responds that next day, okay? And there we go. I'll do that on both sides. The next thing is a hip car. 2 ways you can do it. You can do one on your hands and knees, but if you can't be on your wrists or your knees because of pain, you can do it standing. I'll just do a quick demo of both. Essentially, it's going to be the same rules. We're going to be here. What we're going to do is bring a hip up, out to the side, kick up and out, okay? And then you're going to retrace it. Actually, then I like coming back up and in, and then retrace it back. Up, out, rotate, and coming through. Let me face this way so you can kind of see the side of my hip a little bit more. So again, kind of coming into like a little bit like a mountain climber. You're gonna come out to the side and call it like a fire hydrant for an obvious name. And you're gonna come back into a donkey kick. I can bring that all the way up. Then I can trace it back in, kind of coming in close to my midline in the mountain climber. And then out of mountain climber into donkey kick, back towards fire hydrant, in the mountain climber, and back down. And we're just working that full hip control, full hip rotation through there, okay? Just making sure you have full mobility, and do that to both sides. So for the standing version, have like a chair, something to balance with, and you would just march up, bring your leg out to the side, and bring it back, up, out, to where you can. Keep everything straight. You only have about 10 degrees of hip extension, so we're not trying to like kick a ceiling here. It's just coming straight back, and then retracing it. Maybe come back into the march. Boom, and then down. March, out, there, and trace it back through. Okay, and that's one. And do it on both sides. So ankle dorsiflexion, big fancy word for just moving that ankle in and out like that. Okay, you need that to be able to squat. You need that to go downstairs. You need it just for a lot of different life things, to be able to kneel, to lunge. Very important. A lot of times we have issues. Sometimes we're stiff here. So a quick little screen for that. If you come to a wall, pretend let's use this as my wall. Come about a fist away from the wall with your hand and put your toes right there, okay? Or it could be about 4 inches. Then all you're gonna do is balance on the wall. See if you can tap your knee to the wall with that heel back here staying down. If you can tap here, get your knee 4 inches past your toes, that's a pass. It means you got plenty of ankle motion. If you're only getting your like knee to your shoelaces or your knee to your toes, you got a stiff ankle. You got to get that moving. And in the community, in the program I'm putting together, I go over specifically how to increase that movement, how to increase our hip motion, how to increase your back motion. So if these, you can do these drills if they're not getting better. I'd love to help you out with this a little bit more. So those are the movement screens. So one last thing I want to talk about is just doing a very simple movement, but simple but not actually easy, or maybe easy, not simple. You'll see what I mean. Just doing an ankle pump, ankle circle. So all you're gonna do, we're gonna lay back, hands here, and just simply pump your ankle. It's really easy to just kind of flip it around and not really engage the muscles. But what I want you to try to do is pull back as far as you can for like a full second and a half or 2 seconds. Push down for a full second or two, and really maximize that movement. And do that for 2 minutes. I know it seems a little silly, but when I was doing this once, someone was trying to show me this. I was like, what are you? I didn't believe what they're talking about. After about maybe a minute of doing this, my calf and my shin were just on fire from this simple movement. And all we're trying to do is just activate those muscles and just show it doesn't take much to get these muscles working. Because a lot of times we're not working them fully. Then the other little thing you can do is then an ankle circle. Going clockwise for like a minute, and then go counterclockwise for a minute. You're gonna feel that working more on the outside of your ankle, your peroneal muscles and your posterior tib muscle. All those ankle stabilizers. In order to get your knee, hip, and back feeling better, that foot that attaches to the ground every single day, all your weight goes through. Very important to have a strong, mobile, stable, powerful foot. And this is the first step to see how it is. If you can do 2 minutes of clockwise, followed by 2 minutes of counterclockwise, followed by 2 minutes of that ankle pump, and you don't feel anything, then you're probably doing pretty good. And you probably don't have much pain. So you probably don't need to be doing this mini course. But if you're like most people, they have some pain, you do these, and after a handful of seconds, you're starting to feel that fatigue kick in. Okay? So those are just some little drills to try just to kind of get some more awareness of your body. Okay? In fact, what if we do what we did the last couple of days and just kind of reassess? Come back, just kind of march in place for a couple times. Stand. Deep breath. Let it out. And then just observe. How are you standing now? Are your toes still offset? Are they straight ahead? Are you still shifted? Are you still standing staggered? What's that look like? Okay. Then let's do that forward bend. How does it feel coming down now? Does it feel any looser? Still feeling that same hamstring? Still the same back pain or hip pain? Or is it starting to feel different? Okay. And then that rotation. Hands across the chest and twist. How does that feel after doing that big open book stretch? Did that loosen up the back or the hips or maybe even the ankle? Did that make any difference? Love to know how those, what you think of those, and if they made a change. Comment in the community what you liked, what seemed helpful, anything that's surprising. And we'll dive into day 4 next. See you guys soon.